Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the Hydescience Lab series for our local biotechnology class. Today we're going to move on to the digital balance, which is kind of another basic piece of equipment. We did not necessarily do these activities in the past years, but as I noticed throughout the years, we were making some mistakes that I thought could be prevented. But I've never addressed how to specifically use some of these basic tools, the transfer pipette, the microcentrifuge, the scale, the balance. So I figured this year, let's take some time and let's go over it and let's highlight some things to hopefully prevent some mistakes as we move into some, upper level labs throughout the year. So we'll see how it pays off. I think it's going to be a good move. All right, so today is the digital balance. So I'm going to kind of slide over here a little bit. So this is our digital balance. And what we are going to do is focus on two common mistakes that students make. One of them is we don't account for the units. The other is we do not tare or zero out the scale when using a weigh boat. So I'm going to kind of slide on in here. Let's talk about some units. So down here in the corner of our screen, we see a G, and that stands for grams. And most of the things we do in this lab in my class is going to be in grams. But sometimes the unit will get off and it will not be in grams. So we need to learn to always check and cycle through our units and make sure that we end up with our G for grams. So that's common mistake number one, and it's just overlooking and getting in a hurry. The next thing is the use of this. This is our weigh boat that we put on the scales to put our materials, our substances in. We might use something else. We might use a beaker. We might use some other kind of container, but we always have to do the same thing. So if we were to continue to weigh out in this scenario with our boat, so we wanted 10 grams of a substance. So we're going to use oil dry. It's a non-hazardous substance, but we pretend that it is a hazardous substance. We put PPE on, we put our gloves on, our glasses on, and we just assume that it is dangerous. Just to practice the high stakes if we were to use something that could be corrosive or something of the sort. So we practice using or measuring out different amounts of oil dry where we have to add, take away, or manipulate the oil dry in some way to get our desired results. But what we have to do and what we pay a lot of attention to is we have to account for the mass of this weigh boat. So to do that, we have an empty weigh boat on the scale. Wait for it to kind of calm down. This is the mass of the weigh boat. So what we want to do is we want to hit our tare 0 button, and this will set the mass to 0. Now what we're doing, we're seeing some flickering in here, right? So the air conditioner is on, the air is circulating. These measurements are in hundredths of a gram on that end of the scale. So little fluctuation is kind of normal, but that is why we have this. This is it goes over the scale and it prevents the air and it prevents circulation from messing with our measurements. So it prevents that from happening. So we will tare our scale, we'll set it to 0, and then we are ready to start measuring our substance. Now, something you can notice that is if in this state I was to remove the weigh boat, we now have a negative number. And what this does, this just lets us know that it is subtracting out the mass of the weigh boat for us, so we can focus on that. So that's it for today's episode, just working on the scales. We'll have another episode coming soon. We'll see y'all then.